looking at things that are not, I guess real, right? It's all fake news. Nobody puts out there, I'm struggling. I mean, some people do, and that's a valid thing. But what you see is what people want you to see. And there's not a lot of depth to it. There's not a lot of realness to most of it that we see. And I think sometimes your brain, you're tired, you just want to watch cat videos, or I have German shepherds, so I watch all the German shepherd videos, and just to kind of calm yourself. And
Right.
that's a great step, but not sitting there. There's just that danger of, everybody has what I don't. Why are all these people succeeding and I'm not? How are all these people having these fantastic lives? Well, they're not. The reality of that, it's fake news. Nobody is. And that's the sad part, is that I think your age range, and even for me, obviously I'm older than you, but we kind of have a tendency to look at that and then place value of our own lives and our own thoughts and our own processes of what's going on. So I think it's probably a really good thing to shut that down and move more to your evening gratitude, because that is setting your tone for the morning, right? Then your morning gratitude falls in from the evening gratitude. And then your daily thoughts, and then your MMA, which of course my love of MMA. So it's the manifesting, meditating, and then affirming. So anyways, that was that. Do you want me to start with me?
Yeah, I think that would be
You
cool.
definitely had to order how you wanted to do this, so what do you want?
Yeah, no, I definitely I love your I think how we kind of talked a little bit about it, but just I think your path is pretty interesting and different. And I think for everyone to kind of just get an understanding of where you started, what you're doing now, like what you learned along the way, and why you've kind of shifted a little bit in how you are healing people and how you're talking with people, and just the delivery of that, I think is important. So you want to go into that, and then whatever else you got, we're along for the ride.
All right. Well, I did do some more research because of what you do, and in terms of the goals and things like that. So Huberman's got some great stuff about goal theory and dopamine, which is pretty fantastic. But so for me, I have received my degree. I was actually home with 3 children. And so I got my bachelor's at San Diego State. I went on for my master's at USC in social work. And then I was like, I don't want to be a social worker. Why am I doing this? So then I transitioned to a PhD program at Alliant International University. I was raising 3 children. So I had a baby in my bachelor's, a baby in my master's, and a baby in my PhD program, because everybody said you won't go to school once you have children. So spite is a wonderful motivator. And I said, really? Oh, okay, cool. Great story. Well, guess what? So ended up at UCI Medical Center, got a position in pediatric neurology, and was doing neuropsych testing on Down syndromes. I had a clinic, an interdisciplinary clinic. So we met with a psychiatrist, a neurologist, myself, another behavioralist, to do neuropsych testing on these patients and then develop behavior plans. I also did neuropsych testing on 2 grants, one for dementia and one for bipolar, and spent my time doing a lot of research, which I loved. And then ran the group, ran the clinic, saw 4 patients every week for 5 years that were developmentally disabled, traveled a lot to do the research for them, because there's a high percentage of Down syndrome patients in Victorville and Bakersfield. So spent a lot of time doing that. And then when my husband and I got together, he's a psychiatrist who's also in the practice, I decided I would quit the university and kind of go on my own. So I did a lot of forensic work, neuropsych testing for forensics, for people that, were trying to get out of jail, saying that they were fine. That's actually when we started the German Shepherds, because everybody threatened to kill me. So that was fun. So went through that, did a lot of testifying. And then actually when I was training with Brady, who, side note, is a fantastic trainer, you guys are very lucky. And you're lucky because of his approach to it, as well as his knowledge base, because Brady understands, like somebody like me that's older, that doesn't want to have injuries, doesn't want, is very concerned with staying healthy. You have somebody that really teaches you how to do the exercises for longevity. And that's huge. And kind of getting all of that together for you with longevity. And on that note, with my dementia research, that is the only thing that has been static throughout all of the research. It is muscle mass development. It's not cardio. Cardio is great. Yes, I'm not downplaying cardio, but for the aging brain and the aging body, it's muscle mass, and it's continued to have muscle mass development and continuing to exercise. Even the people that did like 30 minutes a day, we're talking people 60 to 80, right? 30 minutes a day just walking made a huge difference. That is why that's part of why I transitioned to this. And what intrigued me so much about what I do now is all the brain effects. So when I was training with Brady, I hurt my knee, and we continued to train because he's quite the beast on you. No, you can still train. You can pick something up. Okay. So continued to train, but I had got some yoga from the MMA trainer, where I was also doing MMA at Sub Fighter, and his wife was a yoga instructor, and she said, "Oh, let's do yoga." And I was like, "I don't really want to do yoga. I don't want to do yoga. I punch people. Why do I want to do yoga?" So I was like, I don't want to do yoga. And she said, "Well, do you want to do Reiki?" And I was like, "Okay, what the hell is Reiki? That's fake news. Okay, that's a massage where nobody actually touches you. How good could that be, right?" So started doing Reiki with her, and it was this, talk about a change in your career path and a complete 180 in your life. And so I would leave there, and it was just energy work, vibrational energy. It was just, going off of your energy. And so she would tell me all these things afterwards, and I thought, okay, but I'd be driving home and I'd start bawling. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you be crying? But what I put together after that was the idea that your tissue has issues, right? Your cells have memory. So any traumas, any hurts, any regrets, any betrayals, and nobody was raised in an igloo. So we all have betrayals. We all have heartache. We all have that in our body, and your body stores that. And so the idea was, that's releasing out of my body. So all my betrayals, all my hurts, all my pain, all of that I cognitively dealt with, right? Because I know how to do this. This is what I do for work. So I'm able to cognitively deal with those things. But what happens is your body stores it, your body keeps it until you release it. And that is when I transitioned to this, and I thought, well, you know what? I want to know more about that. So when we moved to Arizona, it was finally my time to do something for myself. So I opened Psychotherapy for the Soul. And it's interesting because I was talking with my executive director today about this, and I said, I just said Psychotherapy for the Soul. I had no idea what it meant, no idea how to get there, and no idea any of it. But that's the beauty of what we do with the journal and the MMA and the evening gratitude, morning gratitude. That path becomes very clear to you. And it doesn't become clear because you know anything more, but I have now opened myself up to trust God. For me, it's God. Other people, it's source, universe. I trust the universe. I believe it's in perfect order. So I think for me, any patient I have that has no belief system, that thinks life is random, that's probably the only person that I don't think I could help. I mean, if you don't have some basis that you think all of this matters, and what you say matters, talk about linguistic shifts. Everything changes, and that's part of what you're learning with the morning gratitude. It's those linguistic shifts. Those linguistic shifts are huge. When you start to acknowledge it, you start to see it, and you start to hear it, you can't, it's like seeing something that you shouldn't see, right? You can't unsee that. And once you have that knowledge base of listening to what people say, you can't unhear it. And the negativity that comes out of everybody's mouth is huge. And once you kind of get that concept that what you say you are, what you say you'll do, you realize, okay, how do I harvest this? How do I make my brain work to give me what I want, to meet my goals, whatever goal it is, right? And again, that's the beauty of the journal. The way it's set up is all of your goals, all of your aspirations, that's where you are, and that's where you put it all. It also is nice because it gives you, you get a book, right? At the end of 31 days, you put the date on it, the time on, you don't need the time, but you put the date on it. So, I did this journal 31 days, these days to these days. And then you have this chronology of your thought patterns, because, the other places we used it was with patients that had cancer. So I've had a couple of patients with cancer and had worked through this type of modality of saying, okay, you can tell yourself you're going to have bad side effects, you're going to feel everything, you're going to feel like shit, or you're going to say, I'm going to feel good, I'm going to have minimal side effects, this is what's going to happen in my life. And several of the people that I have transitioned through those trying times, they all came back and said it was amazing. I didn't have any of those things that everybody said you're going to have. And again, mindset, right? Mindset is everything. So I think when I moved into this, I did my Reiki master. So I did all my training, sound healing, because vibrational therapy is amazing. So I have all my sound bowls, and they're all at different hertz. And in the, I have a meditation journal that has some meditations in there, and then some affirmations, and also the frequencies of whatever you're manifesting, or whatever you're kind of working through. So it has a graphs in there of both of those. But so that's kind of where I came from, and then really went, kind of 180. However, the medical community has been very enlightened, it seems like, with a lot of that. And several PubMed articles, which I have on my website, show you that meditation is equal to medication. Now, everybody I know has an anxiety disorder, not a disorder, but anxiety, right? COVID put everybody that was perfectly sane, didn't think anything could ever happen, like what happened, to be locked down. I mean, who had that in their vortex that, the government's going to tell me what I can do, and the government's going to tell me I got to take a shot, or I don't get to keep my job. So we went through some rough times. And I think everybody has anxiety now. And, anxiety is a good thing, right? That's the double-edged sword. Anxiety is a great thing. You have to modulate it. But anxiety makes you get up. Anxiety makes you successful. Anxiety makes you meet your deadlines, right? If you have no anxiety, what would be your point, right? You're like, I don't care if that gets done. So anxiety is not a bad thing, but I think everybody needs really help modulating that. And so for me, with this practice, I just felt so much at peace after going through my Reiki, clearing it, and then getting into these daily routines, right? The journal's 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And so I think that's the great thing about what the journal can do. Obviously, I offer groups and things like that on virtual on my website, as well as I did a class for the journal as well to work through, and the meditation and the daily journal. But it's just, the brain effects are incredible now. When they looked at this, Sarah Lazar, and it's in my website, had people that meditate had the gray matter in the brain, which is your information, you know, where everything's at, they increased it 50 to 80% from meditating. We're talking 10 minutes a day. So the reason those frequency charts are good is because whatever you're meditating on, you want to get the same hertz music going in your ears while you're saying your mantras and what you're thinking. That's again how that ties back into the daily journal, right? That's where you have all that. So you're putting your IMs for your affirmations. You're putting your I see and feel for the meditations. And then your manifestations are your I wants. So if you don't have some algorithm to go by, you need to tell the universe what you want, right? It's like a GPS. The universe doesn't know, has no idea where you want to go. So you put your coordinates in, just like I did with psychotherapy for the soul. I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea what my practice was going to look like. I nothing. So, but what I did was I just started to build. And I said, well, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this. So, you know, always, I think with people because it's very big now, manifestations and, you know, let's all manifest and affirmations. And it is a great thing, but I think the element that a lot of people miss is, you know, it's like going from A to C. Well, A, you know, you're just starting, and C is your end result, right? But you have to trust that that B is the universe, and the universe is going to move you and guide you where you need to go to get to C. But you have to trust that. That's kind of the hard part for a lot of people, is that controlling mechanism that unless I do this, this, and this, then this, and this isn't going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean you do nothing, right? I was building. I was just, okay, I'll try that. I'll try that. And then, you know, then it just synthesizes and comes all together beautifully. But that's because I went through all of my algorithms to get there, and going through the journal and figuring that all out. Now, I've been talking a lot. So is there somewhere you want to go with this?
I had a couple questions.
Uh,
So one, I think, like you said, the manifestations, affirmations, kind of like a topic right now for sure. Uh,
right.
and we can like go on YouTube, right? And there's all like the healing frequencies and things like that. Is that is would you specify on like a certain frequency to actually be using, or is that not as like important in the daily practice?
No, it just, you know, as you evolve, it evolves. So it's all going to change. And you do have to, you know, 432 hertz is a pretty generalized one. I don't have my chart in front of me, but that is what a lot of the meditations are. Some of those hurt your ears. And, you know, sometimes you can't tolerate it. You know, sometimes I'll hear it and I'm like, that's just not working for me. I don't think that's as important. I think to slow your brain, if you're having trouble at night, right?
Mhm.
And you can't, you know, they call it the monkey brain. Because when you first start to meditate, you sit there and you're like, okay, what am I doing? You know, this isn't doing anything. What is this doing? Right. So having the music switches that off somewhat. And then, but what you have to do, you have to train your brain to meditate. So what you have to do in there is you kind of listen to the music, right? So you kind of have the thing. You're taking, the key is your breaths. In order to slow your brain, you have to slow your heart. So you slow down your thought process, right? And part of the way, like people that have anxiety really bad, they ruminate. I say you're like a hamster in the wheel. You just keep ruminating. It's the same statement, same thought, same over. You know, this is never going to work. I'm never going to get anywhere, whatever it is. But that repetitive process gets in your brain, whether it's positive or negative. So that is the point of meditation. Whatever mantra, whatever you're working through for the day, that would be your mantra for the night. Say you know, I want to meet 80% of my goals tomorrow. or I want to get five of the 10 things I have on my list to get done. So then that's what your meditation is, right? You listen to the music, and the hurts don't matter that much. It's kind of neat if you say, okay, how the hurts come into play is anger, jealousy, rage, all of that is very low vibrational energy. So happiness, sadness, appreciation, gratitude, all very high vibrational thoughts. So if you keep yourself in this constant high vibrational thought pattern, that's where you're able to manifest. That's where you're able to meet your goals. That's where you're able to get done what you want to get done. So I don't think it matters that much, the hurts, as much as what you put into your brain, what you ruminate now for good, right? I'm a calm blue ocean. I'm a calm blue ocean. I'm a calm blue ocean. You're doing your deep breaths, and when you kind of breathe, they call it a physiological sigh. So you kind of come in, and you'll see animals do that. They go, they do kind of those little breaths like that, and that's just really the end of you being tight and holding on to the day, right? So 7 deep breaths. I mean, count to 7 up, hold, count to 7 back, down very slowly, and you will be able to slow your brain. And then what happens is, obviously, when you lay there and you say, okay, I can't think right now, I have to just focus. Again, you get the monkey brain where you start going bing, 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 bing. Just refocus back to your hamster wheel. I am a calm blue ocean. I'm a calm blue ocean. I'm a calm blue ocean. Whatever it is, or you're saying, I want $250 million, universe provide. And how whether manifesting money, health, whatever it is you want to manifest to happen. So that's how the hurts work. They're not as important as the mantra, and the mantras go by whatever you have for your day. And that's your manifestations, whatever you're working on, whatever it is, what your wants are, right? My first want is, I want my health. I want my wealth. I want, my hair to grow long, which I actually have that other, and my hair has grown, which is fantastic. But it's whatever you want. So, I mean, that's kind of how this works, right? You have to put it in the GPS what you want. Universe, this is what I want. I want a successful practice. Okay, it's there. And then your I see and your I feel are your manifestations, right? Are your meditations. That's what you're going to meditate on, because you need to feel it. You have to visualize it. That's where the visualization comes in, right? You have to visualize it. If you can't see it, you can't have it. So whether that's where all the vision boards and all those things kind of came in, that people would put up, which are great, but you have to be able to see it. So if you see it, though, you have to internalize it as that. That's kind of really the key component. If you can't feel it, you can't have it. So even if you don't, like, I have a patient now, and she's like, I can't believe it. I'm just like, so my mood has changed. She's very depressed. I'm super positive. I say my things, and it's amazing, that it works. And now all these things, I've become organized. She had some hoarding issues, and so she's making very, very good progress. But then she laughs and she says, I said, I know you don't believe it. And she said, you're right. How did you know that? And I said, I just know you don't. You can tell that, when people really have internalized it, and then those that keep, and for her, it makes sense, because she has some very depressive pathology. So she's thinking she's just on a high. This is just going to be great for now, but Chicken Little, the sky's going to fall, and she's going to be back strapped in bed and not be able to get up and get out of bed for weeks. So for her, it's valid, and I get it, and it's a slow process. But the beauty of it is, you don't really have to drink the Kool-Aid. It still works. You're still able to feel better, despite you saying, well, I don't really know if this really works. So But to really internalize all that and feel it is where the magic happens. And that's really that you feel that. I feel wealthy. I feel opulent. I feel eager. I see my wealth. Wealth is always the easiest one. Or I see my health. I see my longevity. I see all that. And then when you visualize it in your visual cortex, then I mean, this is all brain related. And that was the cool part for me, right? And that's the other part of the journal. When you write, you activate the reticular activating system. And your reticular activating system in your brain, it's back in the brain stem area. And that is what happens when you see something you want, or you have something. That part of your brain allows you to focus on what you find important and what's not important, and it pushes what's not important out. That's why journaling, the art of actually writing, the sensory input from writing is huge, because now you've entered the sensory cortexes and now you're getting all of this information in your brain. Because if a thought, a belief is only a thought you continue to tell yourself. If you continue to tell yourself you're amazing and you're having a fantastic day, you're going to have a fantastic day. Why? Because the part of your brain, your reticular activating system, is now looking to prove you correct. And that's what it does, right? It's there to modulate your sensory inputs, your visual inputs of what do you want, and it will show you proof of that. I mean, it's a fascinating to me. I mean, I've always loved the brain part of it, but it's just fascinating how that works. So when you think of what's the best way for me to activate that, it's through journaling, it's through writing. And so that is the kind of the importance of the journaling. And then to have some structure with the journaling and be very clear on your wants, you're seeing it and you're feeling it, and then you're doing your affirmations, right? I am healthy. I am whatever it is, I am wealthy, whatever it is you want, is fantastic. That your brain does this all on its own. It goes almost on autopilot, because that's what you continue to feed it. Whatever you feed it, it will produce. It's kind of like, you buy a car and I'm like, oh, wow, I got this white Cayenne. This is really cool. You don't see a lot around. The minute you buy it, you see a ton of them around. Why? Because your visual cortex, your brain is seeing, giving you proof of what you wanted. And proof of what you wanted now is all around, and you're like, wow, that's not very unique anymore. Those are those experiences that we've all had, like, wow, how did that happen? Because you put it in there. You put that in your brain as something you wanted. And you had that manifesting however, you did. So I think, when you look at all of the amazing brain effects from something as simplistic as journaling, and not to mention feeling better. There are mornings, my dog, we had to put our dog down last week, and I didn't want to journal. I didn't want to do anything, and I pushed through and I said, all right, let's just do it. And even when you're writing, sometimes you're not feeling it. It doesn't matter, because you're saying it and you're seeing it, and your cortex is working, and you're reading it as you're writing it. You're watching the sensory movement of writing it, and it's getting in. And sure enough, within about, 30 minutes, I was like, oh, I was lifted a little bit. I felt a little bit better. And it wasn't, anything particular I wrote, other than the other great thing with writing, right, is you release it. So writing is almost like a Reiki, that you're releasing your thoughts. And once you release those thoughts, you don't have to hold on to them anymore. And then they become cognitive. So then they become something you can work on, and you can change, and you can move, and you can make it what you want.
Gotcha. Yeah. Instead of just having it run over and over again.
Yeah, the ruminating. I mean, everybody does it. That's what we do. It's human nature, because you think the more effort I put in thinking about it, the better it's going to be. And it's like, no, the more you focus on what you don't want, that's what you're going to get. So instead of, I don't have enough money for this, it gets reframed, right? I have enough money for this. I'm going to need to do this, this, and this to get more. Or I have abundance. I have enough. The universe always provides. And, you know, the problem is it's on the universe's time frame, right? You can't just say, well, in 7 days, I want to win the lottery and let's get that going.
Yeah.
So that is, you know, part of it is the universe is abundant and there's more than enough for everybody, but the universe does go on the universe's time. And so I think some people get discouraged and things like that because they think, you know, that it's this magic thing that happens. But and even they had the kid that was up for the Heisman. I think he won the Heisman. And he had his jacket. He opened up his jacket and his mother had sewn in every single, I want to run the 40 and I don't know, 4.6. I want to win I want to be nominated for the Heisman. I want all these things. So he had all these things in this black jacket that his mother made for him. And he had it for what, 10, 15 years? And every one of those things that he said he wanted happened. It's, you know, it really isn't rocket science. It's so simplistic. And I think people get hung up on that. Well, that's too easy. It's too simplistic. I can't just write what I want and get it. No, you have to write it and you have to do whatever it is you need to do to get to that point and, you know, meditate on it, affirm it. There's steps. You can't go from A to C and do nothing, right? It's just like you changing to true north and building what you're building. You have to build. You can't not build whatever it is you want, but you will, it's the law of attraction. You know, you will get it. And it might come in a different form, you know, and it might come a different way. But one of the things I always like to say is the beauty in the struggle, which you had said the other day. And because it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Every single thing I didn't get put me exactly where I am today. So when you look at that, you have to, and this is the hard part. So you have to, when you get in your hamster wheel, because you're not getting what you want, or you didn't get this job, then you start with your mantra. And your mantra is, you know, that wasn't for me, but something better's on the way. Not today, but something better's on the way. Because you know there's something better on the way. You internalize that there's something better on the way. You know it, you see it, and you feel it. Why? Because history has told you that. History has told you every time you got slapped and, you know, pushed around or negated or whatever it was in your path, and you came out ahead. And so those are all life lessons. And I think that's what helps us stay in this meditative state of, you know, calm and peaceful, because you know anything that pushes you one way is pushing you where you need to go and kind of on your flow. I also use the lazy river like Vegas, right? Because there's perpetual flow. We bump along the sides, but every time we bump, we're like, okay, something better's happening then. Something better's happening. And it always does, and it always is. And so I think if you trust, I mean, that's the hardest part. You have to trust in the universe. You have to trust in God, whoever it is to you, that everything will work out for your good. And it will. It's as, you know, as simple as, I think I told you this, when I go to the grocery store, wherever I go, oh, how are you doing? Fantastic. Look at you like you have 3 heads. I'm like, okay, I'm fantastic. And they're like, really? Absolutely. I woke up today. I'm healthy. Life's great. And, you know, my life has clearly not always been like that. And I've had all of the struggles with, you know, everybody else. And you just, if, you know, mindset is really everything. And that's kind of what, you know, you're discussing too, is just that idea that you have to keep your head straight. And part of your health and wellness is meditation. I mean, again, PubMed has a ton of articles on meditation. versus medication. And it's only for, anti-anxiety medications, which nobody needs. Those are benzodiazepines that are highly addictive, that screw neurochemically in your brain. And it's all things that you can train your brain to do. Now, that being said, obviously people with extreme agoraphobia and others like that, but we usually give them SSRI, so they don't really get benzos. There's really no good to those. So the main, issue with everybody is anxiety. Everybody has it. And, you can get in your lazy river and say, all right, well, I'm going to bump here and bump there, but boy, the flow's going and I'm moving, and allowing the universe to tell you where you're going. Once you did what? You put that in the GPS and you said, listen, I want to have this practice. I want to change my focus. I want to add more things in to my guys that I train. I want to get them, feeling better about themselves and what they're doing, and having a different focus, and not, having this idea that if they don't do this, this, and this, then they're this, this, and this. And so I think goals and motivation, a lot of that is predicated on having that mindset. I mean, and again, even if, let's just say nothing ever happens, right? But you're doing all these things. It's the placebo effect. You're still going to feel better. That works in medicine every single time. You have the placebo effect, right? If you tell yourself you're going to feel okay, you're going to start feeling okay. It's just the way it is. You tell yourself, I'm going to get through this. This is really tough. And I know there's a purpose to it. And I'm going to look for the beauty in this, because there's always the beauty in the struggle. Never changes. I mean, for me, I didn't pass my licensing exam 3 times. And by the third time, and I always set myself up, there was always sabotage. And so you kind of look at that, and that's what the journal is good for too, is looking at your own self-sabotage, And then the third time I just looked up and I said, okay, God, clearly you don't want me to have my license. So what do you want me to do? And that was psychotherapy for the soul. Because had I passed that, I would be in some hospital facility. I'd be at the Mayo Clinic, and I would be working in a very clinical setting and not really helping anybody the way I have the ability to now. And then the beauty of the practice is it's such a nice thing, right? It's a nice way to go. It's a peaceful way to go. It's a better way to give people a skill set. So, you do 6 months with this, and most of my patients, if they're doing a lot of self-sabotage and have issues, I give them 6 months. I go, okay, we'll do weekly for 6 months, and then you're on your own, because you will have internalized all these things. And part of people's hesitation and not wanting to do the journal is usually their core functioning. And that's kind of what's different with me, right? You have all the people around here, because Arizona, Scottsdale is very, has a lot of people that do healing work. So, but what's different with me is I am a neuropsychologist. So there is part of the healing work that you do psychologically have to get rid of those self-sabotage, those negative comments, all those things that you do, because you're operating on this operating system of your childhood and everything else. It doesn't mean you have to go through it all psychotherapeutically, but you do have to acknowledge it, because once you acknowledge what your core functioning is, it never has control over you again, because you already know. Doesn't make you non-reactive. That's the other thing you work on, right? It's like, okay, if you react, then you're like, okay, that's just my core functioning. That's not accurate. That's not true. That's not today. That's from before, and that no longer serves me. And that becomes your mantra. So this kind of, for my psychotherapy patients, it works fantastic, because now, diagnosis, I don't care. I don't care. It has nothing to do with, my one patient has 5 diagnoses, and she just kind of looked at me and said, I don't care. What are your symptoms today? What hurts you today? Where do you want to go? And what do you need from me? Because I will release it in that psychotherapeutic part of your core. And then you'll be just going down your own lazy river, doing whatever it is you want in your life and how you want your life to be. I mean, you have all that power harnessed, right there in your brain. And it just, if the more people I can share that with, and the more people that have that calm and have that peace and are so self-contained, that they're in this vortex that's impermeable for politics, the outside, again, for any of that stuff. The social media, kind of, I mean, how does that serve you? You have to look at everything you take in your brain is like taking in your body, right? So what do you want your brain to see? What do you want your brain to know? How do you want your brain to tell your body how to feel? Right? You don't have an anxiety attack because your brain tells you to have an anxiety attack. You start hyperventilating and you've linked that to anxiety. So now your brain says you're anxious. It doesn't work the other way around. So you are so much in control of your amazing gift of your brain that you just need to know how to harness it. You just need to work through whatever's keeping you not being successful. And we all have a core. Nobody was raised by Ward and June Cleaver. We all have a core. We all have hurts. We all have resentments. We all have betrayals that they don't do any good for your body or your brain. So that's part of this process to get that pushed out, understood, processed through, and then working, your journal.
Love it. Yeah, you told me earlier about the girl that was like, "Oh, I think this is bullshit," but whatever. And I feel like that's helpful because you could be going through this, right? And you could be having like a really down month. Like your money's tight, things are kind
Right.
of tough, and it's hard to be like, I'm abundant, it's hard to say these things. And you might feel like, okay, maybe I should like wait until I'm feeling better to like do this, but you just have to like keep doing it. It's the same as training. If you don't feel like doing it, you feel like you should just be laying in bed, like that's the day that you need it the most, right?
Exactly.
So it's kind of that same idea of just like keep going. Don't let the external affect what you're doing with your personal practice.
Yes, I mean, this world, if you look around, it's full of negativity. I mean, really, that's if you start listening linguistically to what people say, you'll be like, wow,
Terrible.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
you
why if
know,
you say everything is going great, people look at you
right,
weird because
fantastic.
it's
I
more
woke up.
normal. Yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
do you
It's
not win? I won.
normal to talk about the bad things. That's what people can relate to. And so if you start talking about all the good things, it's like almost gets met with this weird energy because it's
Right.
different.
And that's what, once you start doing this and clear your energies, you'll start picking up on other people's energy. And you're like, I don't want that near my vortex. And you start becoming much more self-protective of your vortex and what because again, your brain takes it in. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unhear what you hear. That's why you don't listen.
Mhm.
And that's why you put yourself in this place where you know what? I don't want to hear it. I just don't. If I can't fix, alter, or change it, those are your three algorithms. If I can't fix, alter, or change it, why am I allowing it in my vortex? Right? I can't fix the election. I can't fix who's president. I can't fix what goes on in Ukraine. I can't fix anything. So why am I allowing that negativity into my vortex? I don't. Now, some people might look at that and say, well, you're uninformed. Okay, cool. But I'm uninformed on what? Something I can do nothing about. So why is that in my vortex again? So you realize that you are your own soulmate. You're
Yeah.
not looking to somebody else. You need to do that internally. That is who you are. And you need to protect that. And you need to take who you are and be so careful with what comes in and what comes out. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, when you look at the idea that 10 minutes of 15 minutes of meditation a night is going to increase your gray matter in your brain by 80%. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's all of your ability to have your brain functioning, when you're, my age, 60 or, 60 to 80, this is my next 20 years, my next, whatever I'm going to do, what's my goals for the next 20 years? I have 4 or 5 year plans. Why? Because you have to have something you're moving towards. Stagnation, you stagnate, I guarantee you, your brain cells are dying at a much faster rate when you're stagnant and you're not doing anything. And I do know that from my dementia research. So I'm very clear at what makes your brain stay focused and healthy and good and, ready to go. And again, that is what you put into your brain. What do you allow into your vortex? So your brain, your vortex, what do you have there? Then what do you want to be? How, people that aren't from that mindset, life happens to them,
Oh yeah. Big time.
right? You're not making your life happen. And so there's, what are you going to do with that? And I think just if anybody could just make that linguistic shift, it's amazing. And that's the purpose of the journal, right? Your morning thing is your morning gratitude. I'm grateful I woke up. I'm grateful for my health today. I'm grateful for my family's health. Um, and there you go. So you already have a mindset of gratefulness, and it changes everything. It just you're you're not holding, you're not angry, you don't have it in you anymore, which is really a fantastic, I think, clearly fantastic way to live. And then you just keep doing you, and you keep expressing and moving and going and changing and evolving as things come to you. You evolve through them. Look at how much you've evolved from coming over to my house and training the barefoot oatmeal eating lady while she worked out.
Yep. I think the point A to C and B not being usually what you want it to be. It's usually, and that's what kind of throws a lot of people off. And when you can shift into seeing like, all right, well, this is what I need to go to in order to get to C, that's where you have that like calmness instead of
Right.
panicking and thinking.
Exactly. That's where you get your trust. You
Mhm.
trust. You either trust in the universe or you don't. You either trust in God, universe, source, energy, whatever. If you don't trust in something, then it must be very scary to live in this world. And you can look at it as, well, you're just putting your head in the sand. Okay, cool. Again, I don't really care what anybody thinks. All right, awesome. I'll put my head in the sand. Cool. Do I really need to know the inner workings? Do I need to watch Senate hearings? I don't think so. So, I mean, those are all the things that you choose to put in my brain. And especially, for me, for the next 20 years, nothing ever changes, right? So when you look at the governments and all that stuff, do you really think in 2000 years or more that anything's unique and novel? I don't think so.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just like nothing I need to know, nothing that needs to ever get into my vortex and be there. And it's tough because I live with a man that's very not into his vortex and loves to bring up all that stuff. Well, the interest rates are going to go up, and I go, okay, cool. Well, you can't just put your head in the sand. I said, well, call me in 5 years when the interest rates go and there's something I need to do. Why do I need to know this? I
Right.
don't. It doesn't enrich my life. It doesn't enrich my day. It doesn't enrich my time. So I don't want to hear it. So he knows, and you learn that again, your vortex is your protection from anybody, even your spouse. And Tom and I have a great relationship, but I'm like, nah, it's not coming in my vortex. I won't allow it. Only good stuff. And you know what? I feel great every day. And
Yeah.
even when the shit's shit, I still find a way to feel okay about it. That's the other thing. Every day you don't feel okay, but you feel okay that you don't feel okay, right? And you're not putting any, labels on it and, oh, this means this and this means that. It's like, no, what I do is I'll just say it's a low vibrational day. Some days are super high vibrational, when Odin passed, it was a low vibrational day. It didn't mean anything else. It didn't mean I'm depressed, but everybody wants to put all those labels, right? Oh, well, you're depressed. You're sad. No, it's a low vibrational day. Tomorrow's going to be a high vibrational day because I'll feel better.
Mhm.
So it kind of, when you look at it from that perspective, that's when you see what it is you want to be, how you want to be, and how really you want to live your life. And much of that is kind of like what you're doing, you know, Brady, with the True North, and expanding that into more than just a working out, more than just the physical body, because you know, if the mindset isn't there, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to meet your weight loss goals. You're not going to meet your weight gain goals. You're not going to meet your muscle mass goals. You're not going to meet any of that because your mindset's not there. You know, there's a reason they always say get your head in the game. Well, I think it means a little bit more than that. Get your brain in the game. But I think that is part of it, right? If you don't have your mindset straight, and that's what the daily journal allows you to do, or any journaling really for that matter, it has to be organized, it has to be focused. And I kind of developed a journal for my patients who are struggling. And so anybody that's having difficulty with the journal, you know, that's why I have a journaling session. So we can go over, hey, what's your sabotage? What's going on? What's the core? What's making you not successful, and what's making you not succeed? Because it's very simplistic. Once you have the core, you have your answer, and you already know why you don't do it. But the good thing is what happens is over processing it out, those timeframes become much slower, and your refractory period is like 3 minutes before you're back on your, you know, vortex party train where everything's great. So it's extremely helpful for people.
Well, we got a couple guys on here. We'll open it up for a couple questions if got a couple more minutes left. So, James, any takeaways? Any
Yeah,
application?
I
Anything?
love like I've worked a lot with Brady on obviously finished up with the mindset stuff. And like how would you go about like so you talked about what's the right word I want to use here? Structuring your journals, your meditations at night. How do you go about like do you have a specific template for that? Do you have like individual stuff like or how do you guide somebody towards like what should I be and like how should I
Right.
structure all that? Does that make sense? I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah, no, you are. I also have a meditation journal, like I said, that has all the meditation
Okay.
on the website. But I think what you have to do is, you know, it's new to everybody, right? And it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel right. And again, you know, if you look at it neurologically, you know, when you start to focus, it's very difficult for your brain to not, they call it the monkey brain, because you start going
Yeah.
like everywhere and then kind of recentering. So I think to make it as simplistic as you can, I think that's why people don't
Mm-hmm.
do it. And I know my advice is all from me personally. I had a hard time, and especially because I'm like, okay, so what does this all mean? And so now I know my reticular activating system is working. So what's that all about? It's like, okay, you need to stop thinking and just breathe. So I think the breaths are huge. And I think you don't have, I think everybody gets caught up with you have to have a script for the meditation. You don't. That's why
Mm-hmm.
the journal works so well, because whatever you've written in your journal is already in your frontal lobes. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's in your working memory because you're thinking about it. And you can't not think about what you write because you've already integrated it into your cortex. So your brain is thinking about these things, right? So you know, just listening to the music, whatever music you like. And then just maybe it's as simplistic as, you know, I want to do better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that I want to do better tomorrow. I want to do better tomorrow. I want to do better tomorrow. You don't have to have a big fancy meditation thing. You just have to do it. So whatever you have to do to get yourself in that state. And that's why I like bedtime, because I just I actually don't even use earbuds. I have my
Mm-hmm.
iPhone ones over the ear because they're silencing, which is fantastic. And then actually what happens a lot of times, if I start doing my 7 breaths, I'll fall asleep. But I still have that on, and then I kind of wake up and I'm like, oh, okay. But I know my brain is, again, your brain's on autopilot because you've already you're training it how to do
Mm-hmm.
that. So whatever thought you had, and you've probably seen this before, if you go to sleep thinking of something, you wake up and it's still there,
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of still thinking of it. It's like, that's weird. Why am I still thinking about that? So whatever thoughts you want to put in there, it's all based on you. Now, in the meditation journal, I have a bunch of ones to do. And I did do a bunch of those because once you read them through, you can kind of pull out all the things that work for you and what,
Mhm.
you know, your own linguistics are what going to move you because you know what words you like. Like say you're manifesting wealth and you say, I want wealth. I want to be wealthy. Well, I decided I like the word opulent and I like an opulent lifestyle. An opulence, you know, I thought it was a cool word. And I said, I'm going to use that word. Well, that word works really good for my brain. Might not work for somebody else's brains, but you do probably have to read a bunch more, you know, things to kind of solidify and find what you want. But that is how the journal works, that whatever you have written down, you already have in your brain. And then when you're doing your evening gratitude, you know, and again, even in the journal, it could be one sentence. It doesn't matter. You just have to do it. You have to activate the RAS. You have to get that moving. You have to have the physical sensory part of seeing your writing, looking at your hand movement when you're writing. You have to have all of that to get that in. And then it's a simple thought. Whatever thought, you know, you kind of have through the day comes up and you're like, okay, I want my wealth, or I want, you know, and then you see it, you know, because your eyes are closed, you're listening to the music. And you know, that's creative visualization, right? I mean, that book's been out forever. Then you see it, right? Because your eyes are closed and then you can envision it. Because then you're getting into the visual cortex, you're activating all these other, you know, you're getting in it, a ton of other systems in the brain you're getting into. So it doesn't really matter. Make it simple to get yourself started. It's just start. You will be very surprised how easy it comes once you start. But again, I started like probably 6 months ago because I had a lot of like, oh, you know, I know, how do I consolidate? You know, there's too much stuff to know. And there is a problem with going on the internet because it's too much. So, you know, you'll be inundated, and then sometimes your searching makes you say, oh, I'm too tired now. I've already looked at everything. I don't really want to do it now. You know, I'm already tired. I don't know what to say. So I think the journaling part helps you come to those thoughts and feelings that operate in that you want changed or that you want to do or how you really feel. It also gets you into the mindset, right, of identifying how you feel. How many people fine? How you feel? Fine. Fine. You're not fine. Give me something. I need some adjectives. I need to know why you feel fine. What do you mean fine? What are you thinking? How are you feeling? You know, to really kind of identify all those thoughts and feelings that you have inside. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. So I think those are some of the holdups that people have. And then just not valuing it, right? Saying, well, this doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work. You know, life's going to happen whether, you know, you consent to it or not, right? So you can either make it what you want or, you know, and those are the two mindsets you have, right? And until you can get people to really feel that change in their body and feel their thought process change and feel their linguistic shifts, because you do. I mean, my patients are like, they'll say a bunch of stuff and I'll go, hey, wait, stop. What did you just say? And she's like, I did, didn't I? I said, yes, you did. Good job. You know, and really kind of understanding how powerful it is. I mean, your brain is magnificent. Your brain is magnificent, right? So, I mean, talk about a gratitude every morning. Thank you for my brain. Look at, I mean, I was in pediatric neurology for quite some time. All I saw was damaged brains. And the idea that your brain is functioning fully, you win the lotto every morning. I mean, that is huge. So we can always find our gratitudes. They're all there. Those are easy to do, you know. But again, I think don't overwhelm yourself. Do write one sentence. Even with Brady, you know, he was like, well, what do I write? What do I do? And how does this go? And it's like, just do it. The flow will come. And then, I'm always here for, interpretation and, helping anybody get to the core and say, I'm just having a really hard time. What's, why am I doing this? Why am I not able to push through this? So that's why I think that's why I love what I do. Really, it's because I can do the psychiatric part of it. And then, and then we can get into the fun stuff once we've pushed through that. And all the while, you're still doing your journal and you're still learning and you're still figuring out because, when you write it down, there it is. And you're like, wow. And then you look back, right? You get a second journal and you're like, you put that one back and, because how many people say, I didn't learn anything. I didn't do anything. It wasn't that good. And then you're like, oh, wow. I looked back and my thought process a month ago was very different than it is today. So it's great to have these thought journals, and they're great to have this idea of your ability to do better and what can you work on? And wow, this really does work. Wow, I can really control my brain. And it's like, yeah, whatever you feed it, it will give back to you. Whatever you feed it will get back 100%. Same as your body, right? You feed it a bunch of crap, it's not going to work for you very well.
Correct.
So there is that. So you'll find it. It's there. And then, like I said, I have the meditation and the journal. It's 100 pages. So you can write some stuff in there because I kind of like reading something and then I make some little notes on what I take out of it, what applies to me, what I can use, what makes sense. So it really is just learning about your own brain, figuring out how it works, what motivates you. It's very easy to figure it out once you keep writing it down.
Love it. I'll put the link for your website with the journal.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Brady.
I'll put something else in there. If they wanted to set something up with you as well.
Yeah, I have that on there. It's just a one-on-one coaching where we can just kind of go, and it's all, telemedicine, obviously, where we can kind of go through that because sometimes you do get stuck and sometimes you're at a precipice and you're not sure what's operating, why you would be not progressing.
Yeah. So I'll put that in there.
Okay, fantastic.
Ryan, you got anything? Otherwise, I think we're.
No, that was really, really helpful. I appreciate the insight and just looking forward to diving more deeper into meditation specifically.
Yes, it's fantastic. It really is a great, I have a lot of kids that I have for anxiety that I give them their little mantras and they go out to their car and they take their 5 minutes out and then they're able to go back in and do what they need to do. So meditations are amazing because, everybody's got it. Everybody's got anxiety. There's just no way around it. So modulating it and making, yourself control it, that's key. And that's what's great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Brady.
Yeah, that was really
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
And like I said, I'll post more info in the Slack for these guys if they wanted to get the structure you have, and otherwise we'll go from there. So all right.
All right. Thanks, Brady.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye.